Hey folks, this is Jantron here, and today I'm going to be bringing the first of a set of very optimized, no-rest, early game Baldur's Gate 3 builds with a theme. The theme this time is No Rest for the Wicked, and it's centered about fire and necrotic damage. All of the items I use for these builds can be gotten from the Grove or before. So the first here is called the Rotshot Ravenmaster. It's a ranged DPS and support kinda build. On an absolutely perfect turn, it's capable of doing no less than 87 damage without spending any resources and without factoring in special arrows or attacks of opportunity. And it goes like this. Just take 3 levels of Ranger, subclass Hunter, and choose the ability Hordebreaker. This allows you to get an extra attack in situations where enemies are close together. Since you are going to be buffing up our main action attack, this can be really strong, just getting an extra one of these. You can also go for Gloomstalker. In short fights, Gloomstalker will be stronger. In longer fights, Hunter Hordebreaker will win out pretty fast. For important choices during character creation, we have our abilities. Strength 16, Dexterity 16, Constitution 14, Intelligence 8, Wisdom 12, and Charisma 8. Other important choices during character creation is, first off, you need to take Beast Tamer. This gives you access to the Find Familiar, and that is where you get the Raven. That is a pretty integral part of this build. Also, you need to take Archery. As you can see, it clearly says Archery here, not Defense. I definitely did not include footage of an earlier version of this build. So, take Archery, don't take Defense, please. This gives you another +2 to attack with your ranged weapon, and your ranged weapon is going to be your primary source of attack. For spells, the only really important one is Hunter's Mark. If you do not have anyone else who can cast Enhanced Sleep, I would very much suggest you take it on this character. It's an easy way to get it. Otherwise, you can take whichever spells you please. I like having access to Ensnaring Strike and Hail of Thorns. I won't be using these too much, because my idea is to use all of the spell slots I had on trying to hold concentration on Hunter's Mark for most of the fights. She should not be in the thick of things, so she should not be hit too often. But you never know. Also, her armor class is pretty decent. 19. It says 19 here, it doesn't say 20, definitely. Good. So for her main weapon, the first one, Makeshift Bow. This is one of the exploity things we have going on. As you can see, it has another +1d10 necrotic damage. That is because this weapon is gained by stealing it from an animated skeleton. I'll show you how in a second. Okay, so in order to get this Makeshift Bow, you need a couple of items. You need the Scroll of Animated Dead, any corpse, and a character with a ranged weapon equipped, in this case Lae'zel. The Scroll of Animated Dead you can get from the little halfling druids in the Grove. You can keep resetting his item stash by leveling up a character, or by long resting. You can do partial rests without problem. The corpse you can just find outside of the Grove from the Grove fight, and any ranged weapon will do. So we use the Scroll of Animated Dead to cast Animated Dead Skeleton, that's important, on the corpse. Once the corpse has turned into a skeleton, we can mark the skeleton. You will see it has an attack here with +1d10 necrotic damage. If we open the inventory, it will have a preview button in the bottom of the screen. If I click this and immediately go to grab the bow, you'll see I now have a bow here. I can then navigate to the character that I want to have the bow equipped, in this case Lae'zel. Open her inventory and simply drop it on her ranged weapon slot. That will switch out her ranged weapon for the ranged weapon the skeleton had. So that is how you get the Makeshift Bow. Our main hand weapon for melee is a Flame Blade. This is a permanent Flame Blade. This is also gained in a kind of exploity way by getting it from a druid hireling that you dismiss and rehire. I'll show you how in a second. Okay, so in order to acquire the Flame Blade, what we have to do is speak to Withers. Hey Withers man, it's been a while. Recruit a hireling. Boom. I like to use Danton, he's a druid already. Easiest with a druid, because what we need to do is take a druid and get it to level 3. Level that up quickly. Judges doesn't matter, as long as you get to level 3, that's fine. For prepared spells, the relevant spell here is Flame Blade. And we accept. Then we cast the Flame Blade spell. And while the spell is active, we go and talk to the guy. And I have no more use of this hireling. Yes, return it to the Fugue Plane. There he goes, bye-bye. And then we go and re-recruit the same hireling. Recruit a hireling. It's important here that you choose the same one, Anton in this case. You will notice that he still has the Flame Blade in his hand, but this is not the same Flame Blade as before. There are a couple of different things about this one. First of all, it's permanent now. That's the most important part. It can be moved to any other person, and it no longer scales off of his caster stat. It now scales off of strength. So you can switch this to any character, in this case Lae'zel. You see, we just keep doing this to get more. That is how you get the Flame Blade. And then we are using a shield in offhand just to up our armor class. You could use a second Flame Blade if you want to have access to a stronger attack of opportunity, using both of your melee weapons, or if you want to be using your bonus action for offhand attacks in melee. This build has quite enough to use a bonus action on, jumping all over the battlefield, pushing people into position, using Hunter's Mark or dipping your bow. So you probably don't need the offhand attack here, but if it's there if you want it. Then for other items that I've chosen to give to this build is the Gloves of Missile Snaring. This is because it's going to be a ranged build, and it doesn't have a really strong use for its reaction normally. It's rare to take attack of opportunities on a ranged build, even if you can, of course, in certain situations. So I've put the Gloves of Missile Snaring on her. Lastly, she's using an Elixir of Bloodlust. This gives her a little bit of defense in that every kill gives her 5 temporary HP. It also means that she gets an extra action, and her main action is quite strong. She also has the usual camp buffs, as you can see here. These don't matter too much, they go on every character. The second part of this build is the Raven, Quoth in this case. And as soon as I didn't target Lae'zel, she's just gonna wander off and start playing with this one, of course. The reason we take the Raven is for Rent Vision. This ability is amazing. Attacking a creature's eyes to blind it. This does not have a saving throw, so if you hit your attack roll, the enemy is gonna be blinded, in case he's not immune or whatever. So we want to buff the chance to hit for the Raven, and of course we want to make it survive, because these normally die for a good word. They have 1 hit point usually, and we've tried to buff that as much as possible at level 3. So if you look over here, you can see that it has 6 hit points, that's just the 8. And it has 10 temporary hit points. So in total this is now 16 hit points, and then we have provided it with a Warding Bond effect as well, from a camp caster. That means that it kinda has 32 hit points, which is a lot more survivable than just the second one. You still wanna try and keep it as far away from melee as possible. Just flying in, have it blind whichever enemy you want to focus on. The important part of the blind here, I think I forgot to say that, is of course that it gives you advantage on that. You can use that for Lae'zel herself, or you can gang up on it with all of the rest of your party members. So that's the gist of it. We also have a couple of spells here. The normal camp buffs one, Longstrider, Protection from Poison, 8, and Mage Armor to up its armor class, and Warding Bond of course helps as well. So 16 armor class, 32 functional hit points, and because of Elixir of Heroism, also plus 1d4 to hit, which means that the chance for Rent Vision to land is higher. If you have another member of your party that can apply Bless, that will actually stack with the effect from Elixir of Heroism. So in that case, you can give the Raven plus 2d4 to hit, making the chance of landing the blind, and therefore getting advantage, so much higher. I have Lae'zel set for this build. You can use it on anyone. There's nothing specific to her about it. So let's imagine a hypothetical magical Christmas land scenario here, in which we have the best possible setup for us. We have 2 enemies close to each other. One of them is low, and it has our Hunter's Mark applied from a previous round. Our weapon is already dipped in fire, and the turn then goes like this. Both starts by attacking one of them, rending its vision, giving us advantage on that enemy. Which one of them depends a bit on the situation, so let's not go into that. We then use our hordebreaker shot here for 2d6 plus 3 piercing damage, 1d10 necrotic, and 1d4 fire. One of the d6 of piercing damage is of course from Hunter's Mark. That kills the enemy. Since we used Hordebreaker, we have already procced the additional Hordebreaker attack on the other one, and then we have another action from our Bloodlust, so we get 2 shots in the second one. We still have our bonus action, and we use that to apply Hunter's Mark on the second one. That means we have 2 similar shots in the second one, for 2d6 plus 3, plus 1d10, plus 1d4 fire damage. That is kind of a lot of DPS for a level 3 character, without spending any resources on it. Of course, it's not something we're going to be able to set up every turn, but it is not all that unlikely, just having 2 enemies low and being a little bit into the fight. And we still have the option of using a special arrow on the extra action that we got from Bloodlust, making it possible for us to go even higher in case we want to. So, this has been the first of my builds for this No Rest for the Wicked party. The Rotshot Ravenmaster, a pretty strong DPS and kind of support build. It's probably the second weakest of the ones I'm gonna showcase, but it's still a very strong ranged DPS build. And it has some interesting play patterns with trying to set up Hordebreaker, so I'd really suggest you give it a chance. It's a fun build to play around with. I know it's kind of exploity, and that's going to be a thing for all of these builds, so if you're not into that sort of thing, these builds might not be for you. You might still learn a thing or two about optimization, and if you stick around, that's awesome. I hope to see you in the next ones. But for now, I've been Chandran, you've been awesome. Don't forget to do the YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and bye-bye.
Time to strike.
What now?
Let my name be known.
Let's turn someone inside out.